other than the CEO and co-founder of Context.ai, Henry Scott Green. And I will mention that this is one of the talks that came through the request for presentations that we put out, and it was so good. The abstract had me, and so Henry, I had to bring you on here, man. How you doing?
Thank you. Yeah, great to be here. Feeling great. How are you?
Great, man. Well, you've got 10 minutes on the clock. I'll be back in just a jiff. I'll let you get after it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So yeah, today I'm going to talk about how you can build even better LLM products by using analytics, asking the question of, so you've built your first LLM product, what comes next? And that's when you're hopefully going to build an even better one by using real user feedback. And this talk is going to be geared towards product people and product problems. And I'll explain why I think that's the most important layer to be focused on. So who am I and why am I talking about product analytics? I'm Henry, and I spent 7 years as a product manager at Google, where I built and I patented billion-user AI-based anti-abuse systems. And now, however, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Context.ai, and we build product analytics tools for LLM applications. So that's why we're here. So why do I think the biggest problem to solve in this stack is a product problem? It's because we're in a period of very rapid change, similar to the dawn of mobile or the internet. I think huge industries are being disrupted and new winners are unquestionably going to emerge. I think if you're on this Zoom call, you probably don't need me to tell you this, but I think it's worth calling out regardless. So during a period of such intense change, what's the most important thing to focus on? It's that you're building something that adds real value for real people. And that's a very hard problem, which is ultimately a product one, not a technical one. It's answering questions such as, what should you build and what do your users want? It's not enough to build a product that works or hopefully works well. Now, obviously that's hard, but it's not enough to have a successful product and a successful business. You need to add real value to real users. And then the real question is, how do you do that? So obviously you build something, you launch it. Now what? You're going to start iterating towards product market fit. You're going to learn as much as you can from your users. Then you're going to build and ship the next version. But how are you supposed to know what your users want? And how do you know if the thing that you've built, your new baby product, how do you know if that's any good? And how do you measure the impact of the changes that you're making as you iterate through the product development process? There's two challenges that I see for LLM product builders in the ecosystem today. The first is that understanding of your users, which is so crucial to product development. These are questions like, why are these people using your product? And what is it that they want? The second half is understanding your product. Does it actually meet real user needs? And how can you improve it? So obviously the real question is, how are you going to solve these problems? Now, one solution being demonstrated by SpongeBob here is that you could read all the chat transcripts. That works really well when you've got a demo project or a hackathon or a small alpha, but it's not going to scale beyond a few dozen engaged users. Builders I speak with every day are relying on this method, and they say their products feel like they exist in a black box. That's the phrase I hear all the time. So a better and scalable solution is product analytics. Product analytics is the name for a group of tools that basically shine a light on user behavior and product performance to solve this black box problem. And what specifically is it that you should be evaluating using your product analytics? Well, first, you want to understand your users. There's many things to look at here, and most important is probably, why are people using your product? A couple of techniques you can use to understand this are by clustering conversations bottom up for topic detection. And this can encompass conversations that you didn't even know were going to occur. The alternative is a top-down classification against a predefined taxonomy, because obviously you do understand what some fraction of your users are going to be talking about. Ultimately, though, you're going to want tools at two layers. You want to understand the themes of user behavior, but then you're going to want to go deep and read specific transcripts to understand exactly what's happening in your product so you can build that crucial user empathy. The second half is understanding product performance. Some of the metrics that give a good signal here are the like to dislike ratio of your users in response to your responses, the user input sentiment, are they happy versus frustrated, user feedback surveys, messenger generation rates, and conversion rates for goals that you define. You're going to want to track this performance at many levels. And this is a key gap that I see in the ecosystem today. Obviously, you want to look at global product-wide success. How many people are converting? How many people are clicking thumbs up, thumbs down? But your product doesn't exist in isolation. There's a whole diverse landscape of use cases. And this is why you need to slice by topic. You need to say, okay, for queries about X, queries about Y, which ones are being handled well and which ones are being handled poorly. So you've got to slice these success metrics across your whole product for each of the topics that users discuss, for each conversation that occurs, and obviously for each message. And these really help you understand how you should direct your product investment efforts and those valuable engineering resources that you have, how you're going to make your product better with them. So that's what we're trying to solve at Context. We're a product analytics platform for LLM applications, trying to give people understanding of how people are actually using their product and how their product's performing. And what specifically you should be tracking as you move from a small beta over into production. I'm going to show you how we've approached it that hopefully gives some inspiration to other builders on this call. So a couple of the ways that, and a couple of the key questions that I think you're going to want to understand. Firstly, how are people using your product? This is where I mentioned you want to have detection of the conversation topics being discussed most frequently by classifying top-down against the taxonomy, clustering bottoms-up for topics that you didn't know are being discussed, and keyword detection to get things like those embarrassing competitor mentions. Then it's how your product's performing and being able to slice the performance of your product, the sentiment of the user inputs, the ratio of thumbs ups to thumbs down of the responses across each of those conversation topics, as I just mentioned. Then you want to dive deep into user behavior. Are users churning or are they sticking around? What topics do the engaged users talk about? What topics do users talk about right before they churn? It's so important that you're slicing your product behavior to these individual use cases that people have within the universe of possibilities that is your product. And then you're going to want to be able to answer any question by putting together custom graphs and charts, because everyone's definition of success is wildly different. So that's something that you have to support if you're trying to build an analytics platform. Different ways that you might want to slice your data are looking at different user cohorts, different A/B test arms, different models, or different development environments that you've got in production. And then finally, trends are only so important, and it's important that you have that analytics and insights layer, but then you need to go deep to build user empathy and to debug specific problems, where you're probably going to want some tooling that lets you manage all of the transcripts and filter them based on date ranges and the topics that are being discussed and success versus failure signals. And obviously, privacy and security, incredibly important. I think no one can build a platform these days to provide analytics or observability without these kinds of features, SOC 2 compliance, stripping PII, not training models. And I think some other things that we're building out soon, but I think that are interesting for this conversation, are building out pre-launch evaluations in addition to post-launch. Everything I've showed here is really once you've got something in production, how are real users interacting with it? How can you build data sets for RLHF? And then some additional things that we've got coming down the line. But hopefully you didn't just want analytics for the sake of it or because your boss told you to. What do you actually do with these metrics? And so you want to identify these areas of poor performance or of strong performance, and then understand what's driving them, and ultimately use that understanding to improve your product. So you can do prompt engineering, you can do RAG, or improve your data set that's used for fine-tuning. You can change the UX, run A/B tests, and double down on your strengths and perhaps do marketing to address those key use cases. So that's an overview of how we solve the black box problem that I see that exists today for LLM developers. Ultimately, solving that black box problem allows you to build an even better product. We'd love to help solve for folks, love to continue the conversation. Please get in touch. Thanks so much.
Awesome, Henry. I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you did not let me down with that one. So that is awesome. Yeah.